Hello, and welcome to episode 154 of Checkpoint Chat. We're back.
Wait,
after a
154. Whoa.
145, sorry.
What time
Holy
machine
shit.
did you step into?
Wow, sorry. Numbers. They are
difficult.
as soon as it becomes 3 digits, then it becomes difficult.
Wow, you've been struggling for 44 episodes before this now.
This is why I had to repeat some years at university. You know, that engineering maths. As soon as they took out numbers, then it was even more complicated.
Oh my gosh! Then they introduce imaginary numbers. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you said it as a joke, but that shit really exists.
No, I know it exists. And you're like, why? Why are you like this, maths?
At high school, they're like, you can never square root a negative number. Then you get to varsity, they're like, fam, let me show you some shit.
Yeah, I'll never forget. So I did IT for 2 years out of school, and the first week of there was a calculus module. The first week, they're like, we're gonna recap your entire matric syllabus quickly, and it's like,
in a week,
cool.
Probably.
And they do, and you're like, oh my god, if this is a week, what are they going to do for the rest of the year? And I was like, yeah,
yep,
no thanks.
It's why I went through the exact same thing. Like they condense what you learned in a year into a week, and you're just like, I really learned nothing, or I learned very little, and then cool, now the work really begins.
But it's actually funny because in varsity, I think it's normal. Like you go from primary school to high school, you go, wow, I'm a big kid now, and then you go from high school to varsity, like, wow, now I'm really a big kid, and you realize how much, like, not how little, but how, I don't know, like content light the school syllabus is compared to varsity stuff. And then every time I hear, like, I don't know, matrics or anyone complain, I'm like, you guys have no idea.
Yeah.
Like the stuff I know there's actual work involved, obviously, but like, you have no idea how light it is now.
It's a real adjustment that, I mean, it caught me off guard. I think it catches a lot of people off guard.
Everyone,
like, the jump from school to university is intense. It is really, but like anything, it's once you settle into that rhythm, then it's manageable.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel the same for work. Like work, out of varsity to work, you know, it's a very different type of stress, and it takes time to settle. But once you settle, it feels, and then you move to a new project, and then you feel completely unsettled again, and that's where I am still. So.
Well, yeah, for in terms of work, so I started out, my first real job was merchandising. And
somehow we didn't meet each other during this phase of your life.
We probably did. I'm sure we must have.
I'm almost certain, like, I recognize now, like in my memory, Gareth,
yeah, because he used to merchandise your store.
Yeah, I'm almost certain, like, I distinctly recall, like, working at, so we're talking about BT Games specifically here. When I was a teenager, I worked there on weekends and sometimes during the holidays.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember some days they'll be like, oh, we've got this guy merchandising, he's going to make the windows pretty.
The window display, yeah.
And I remember it was like
Gareth,
an Asian guy, and he would be there for like the whole day, and the displays would be fucking incredible.
Yeah, he had a reputation for really putting in the extra work, you know, into those displays. But it's funny because that particular job was like, I earned very well, and I did not work 9 to 5. Like,
oh really? Did it pay well?
Well, it paid relatively well, given that like I didn't have a formal qualification. It was like my first proper job out of high school.
Who was it? Who was it through? Was it through like the distributors?
No, so we worked for a company called SGA, Sam Grayley Associates, and basically we just had a client base. So like Xbox was one client where they paid a retainer or something just to have a whole lot of merchandisers like service all the stores countrywide and make sure that, you know, Microsoft Office was represented in, you know, an applicable aisle, and that the aisle was neat and it had the right points of sale stuff. And likewise for Xbox was like, oh, this game's launching. We need to pull up banners and, you know, build cardboard boxes to, you know, get window space, you know, to promote the game. But
so you guys were actually producing the like the materials.
I don't know if I don't think we manufactured. I could be wrong, but I don't.
Maybe
think
that came from like a Mega ROM or something like that. Yeah.
But the way it worked was you had a store list, like here's your set stores that you have to hit every week. And honestly, like if there was no launch or anything, it's the thing of I walk into the store, things look fine, chat to the manager, walk out. So I'd often finish at like 12 or 1 on a day.
Yeah.
So like earning a full-time salary for doing a half day of work was just incredible.
But I'm sure then it balanced out. Like I'm sure at your October, November timeframes, shit was wild.
Yeah, there were definitely busy periods. But the point I'm getting at is that like that, I never did a proper 9-to-5 job until I joined Clockwork Media. Because even after I merchandised, I went and I studied, and then I worked at Critical Hits, and that was also like I was doing 3 to 4 articles a day, whereas a normal full-time person like Darren or whoever would do like 7 to 8 on a mad day.
I mean, essentially, I was doing the same, just like three
likewise, yeah. So, but then going to Clockwork from, it became an 8:30 to 5 job. It was the worst. Like
it's an adjustment.
Doing it the first time, like I'll never forget going home, just lying in my bed, going, "This is my life now. I've got to drive an hour to work because of the traffic, an hour back, and then." Yeah, it was the worst. But now you overcome it. You get into the swing of things.
That very first month of work, you just feel exhausted all the time because your body is super... Like, you're like, oh, I went to varsity. Like, varsity days are long. And they are. Like, I mean, there were definitely days, especially in first year, where it was so chock-a-block. Like, it would be like, lecture started at 8 and you would end at 5 that day. And that shit was rough. Like, but it's a very different... I don't know. It's a very different type of tired, and that takes a while to get used to. And then on top of it now, I mean, the first month after moving out, like it's been an interesting exercise of finding the balance of, okay, when is the best time for me to go to gym? Because now I finish work at 5 and then we got to cook dinner or whatever. And then on top of it, like, okay, I got to cook dinner and then I've got to do freelance work for GameSpot. It's been let me tell you, it's real hard working when Shani like logs off for the day and goes and sits down and watches TV, and I'm just like,
I'm the Shani in my relationship because I often like my work, very seldom do I work overtime. Like I'm fortunate that in terms of the workload on my team, like we do manage deadlines well, and even our client is very like. Let me tell you, it's very weird to have a client that says like, no, you guys must log off at 6. And it's like, that's weird. Most clients are like, no, you stop working when I get my shit, and it's like, we don't have that client. So I often I'm the one to log off and then Lenska works late. I'm like, sorry.
No, but that's fantastic. That's,
I'm going to play games.
That's sustainable. That's good management. Yeah. And, at the end of the day, that's what keeps you at a company. Like, when they respect your time as much as, I feel like if your time is respected, you feel
100%,
either subliminally or intentionally obligated to give your best work to that, because it's a give and take.
Well, it's funny because we like my colleagues in our chats, and we're like, this won't last forever. Like obviously at some point someone's going to leave or we're just going to move on with our lives. Like we really need to just enjoy this period of our lives now, because we have like I've got a great team. We all get on so well with each other, and like the work dynamic is just good, like really good. It's like this won't be forever. Just cherish these moments.
It definitely is rare, and sometimes you only realize how good you had it until
you're at a shit place.
You leave. Like I've been at jobs where I've had team leads or superiors who initially I was like, oh, not really vibing with this guy, whatever. But then I've changed and realized actually what they were doing was really good. Like how they were guiding me was very solid. And only when you like guided by someone who's not as good as that, you realize how bad it can be. So. I mean, that's just like human nature, man. You don't realize how good you have it until it's gone. So just like video
saying
games.
Goes.
You don't realize how good you have had a game until the credits roll.
Until the credits roll.
I just realized I never introduced ourselves. My name's Alessandro Barbosa. I'm joined as always by Matthew Figueroa. We talk about video games here.
Yeah, you didn't introduce yourself because I really interrupted you.
How dare you?
Just to point out that you were incorrect with the episode name.
But we're back. Sorry for missing last week. As you can see, Matthew's in a new
I'm in Cape Town.
If you're watching the video version, he's in a new abode. He's in Cape Town. He's moved forever.
Never coming back. No, I'm just here for a few weeks. I've got my in-laws have a lovely place here, and we just thought, why the hell not? Let's come spend
change
a
of
month
scenery,
here.
man. It can do wonders to the mind.
And it's amazing. Our setup here, it's like, damn, our setup is
pretty good.
It's better than what we have at home. How do we replicate this?
You haven't streamed this week, but
no,
I'm pretty sure you have no issues with that.
Yeah, we've got the fiber up and running now. That was the delay, really. It was just getting the fiber installed. Let me tell you, I think Octotel are the fiber providers here in Cape Town, or at least in our area.
Please tell me their logo is an octopus.
I have no idea.
Oh man, that's a real missed opportunity.
Let's see, yeah. And between them and Cool Ideas, like we ordered our internet like 10 days ago and we're up and running. So
damn, very
maybe because fiber is not such a novelty anymore, like that's normal. But I remember a time when you'd have to like order far in advance, even just for ADSL. It was like a process. So to have it up and running is like, wow, is this the future?
Yeah, I was actually, it was similar when we moved into our place in March. I had to organize the fiber, and it actually ended up being, the delay was on like our ISP side. Like I phoned OpenServe, who were owned by Telkom. So I was like, mentally prepared to have a bad time. Yeah. And they sorted out the line and installation in like 2 days.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is crazy. This doesn't compute in me. Like,
yeah, I think
we had internet in like a week as well.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, this is how things should be, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're talking about it as if it's a novelty, but it's like it's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, video games.
We've got fiber, so I can play games now.
because we missed a whole week. We've been playing quite a bit of stuff, and quite a bit of stuff has happened in terms of news. We'll get to that, but I'm sure everyone is already feeling that encroaching E3 vibe coming. This was like pre-E3 this week.
Yeah, there's a lot of
it definitely triggered that switch in my brain where it feels like E3 started. But yeah, before any of that, games. I have been playing one new game and one not so new game. So I'll start with the new one. Knockout City. I don't know if you heard of this thing. I remember when it got revealed, and then it kind of like crept up and stayed hidden, and then it just released. And I was like, oh, right, this thing.
But let's be honest, when it was revealed, we all thought it looked silly.
Yeah.
Unashamedly, I thought dodgeball's a game. Will it work? Like,
yeah. And when it was announced, I don't think it was that far off of the launch of Rocket Arena. Which is also like an EA multiplayer, and that was bad. That game really, I did not enjoy that game at all. So I was trepidatious. I was like, well, this kind of looks like the same cartoonish vibe, very casual multiplayer. It's going to end up in the same thing, but turns out this game's pretty great. It's developed by, I think it's Villain Studios. It's the same studio, coincidentally, who made Mario Kart Live Circuits, the the one with the actual remote control car.
That is, and then you can make so your own Mario weird. Kart. What a jump!
Yeah. So it's the same studio.
That makes no sense in my head.
So essentially, it is a dodgeball multiplayer game. It's mostly 3v3 across very small sort of maps. But the real beauty of the game, I find, is just in its balance of simplicity and depth of mechanics. So there are little spawn points around the map where you can pick up dodgeballs. Little, the red rubber balls. They make a really good thunking sound when you hit someone. That dunk, it's really satisfying.
As you've seen in many a YouTube compilation, I'm sure.
Yeah, many and many movies and cartoons. Yeah. Like if you've heard a dodgeball, you know exactly what you're getting, but it sounds great. So essentially, you pick up a ball. As soon as you run over a ball, you pick it up automatically. And then you basically hold right trigger, and it auto aims at an enemy nearby you if you're within range, and you can flick between them using the thumbstick. Now, what that does is allow you to kind of focus on other things as opposed to focusing on your aim. So because I'm auto-focused on an enemy, I can look around my environment to see if someone else is taking aim at me. I can continue strafing and moving. I can jump, all of that. And I can focus on the power that I apply to the ball. So the more you hold it, the more you charge. And when you let go, the more you've charged, the faster the ball travels. Pretty basic.
Okay.
So you can, if an enemy's like right up in your face, you don't really need to charge. You can tap it and catch them off guard and just like thunk them.
Yeah.
But you can play around with distance and power and timing. And timing is important because, like, in a normal dodgeball game, you can catch balls that are thrown at you. So your catch is like a very small window thing. Like, if you press catch, the animation for the catch plays, and then there's a small cooldown after that. So you can't just like spam it. You know what I mean? But if you catch a ball, depending on how well you catch it, like a good or a perfect, whatever, you apply a stack onto that ball.
Ooh.
So when you throw it next, it travels faster.
Oh, no.
And if someone catches that one, the stack multiplies. And I think it goes up to like 6 or 8 times. So you can have these really cool battles where you throw, someone catches, they throw, you catch, and you keep returning. Yeah. But every time you have to adjust your timing window because the ball coming back at you is much quicker. Now. Yeah. So you can, when you go up against really good players, that adds a lot of like tension and very small like micro decisions that you have to make in split seconds. All the while you have to focus on, you know, two other potential enemies throwing a ball at you.
Is it 3v3?
Most modes are 3v3, okay. Yeah.
Cool.
So it's really, I think they made a good choice in making things like aiming automatic because you have a lot to worry about already. When, you know, it's not like a shooter where you aim and shoot. This is like a shooter where the enemy can catch the bullet and return it back at you. So I think aiming just adds, exactly. Call it kinetic Call of psionics Call of Duty, something like that. So that's one aspect of it. And I think just that from a fundamentals point works really well. Then you can get into like really advanced tactics. Like, so by default, you just throw the ball in a straight line, but you've got two different types of double jumps. One like pirouettes you in the air, another one you do like a somersault. So depending on which one you do, if you throw while you're enacting one of those double jumps, you will either like twist the ball, which you can use to twist the ball around corners, or you'll lob it. And it doesn't have to be in specific situations. Sometimes you can just trick an enemy by like, they're expecting the ball to come in a straight line. If I lob it, then the timing is completely different. Yeah. So they have to like adjust on the fly. Additionally, you can also fake a throw. So you can like fake a throw, see them play the catch animation and then throw, and then you'll hit them like no problem.
Okay.
And every player starts with 2 pips of life, like 2 hearts. And if you get hit, you lose a heart. If you get hit again, you get knocked out. And it's usually most modes right now, the modes do rotate, but most modes are like a score attack. So like get 10 knockouts in a round, you win that round. And then it's a best of 3 rounds type of thing. Okay. So the rounds are very quick. It's very, like, it's really easy to understand and play. Like, I feel like you don't really have to play it religiously to kind of understand what you need to do to be good at it. But at the same time, there's so many mechanics that if you play a lot and you start getting matched up to players who similarly take the game as seriously as you, there's a lot of depth to it that I think can really give it legs going forward. And there's all sorts of other things, like all the maps have a theme to them that tie into, you know, like one of them is set between 2 skyscrapers, so you can use a glider to catch the wind and move between them in interesting ways. One of them has like a network of pipes that if you enter on one, you exit on the other end of the pipe, so you can really move around the map quite quickly. And then each match has a special dodgeball that gets selected randomly. Some of them aren't that great. Some of them are pretty cool. Like there's one dodgeball that gives you 3 balls at once. So you have like 2 rotating around you, so you can really like launch attacks quickly. Another one is shaped like a football, so it acts as almost like a sniper shot. So it takes a really long time to charge up, but you can throw from miles away.
Amazing.
And it travels like incredibly quickly. So yeah, there's a lot to this game, and I think it's just really fun. I was surprised at how easy it was to get into it, and how much I could just like spend 2 or 3 hours at a time and feel like I got something very positive out of it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's free right now. I think by the time you're listening to this, it probably won't be, because it launched with a 10-day free offering, but it is on EA Pass. Well, no. So when you claim it, doesn't mean you keep it.
Oh, it's free to play now for the first 10 days. Okay.
It is on Game Pass though. So I think if you've got Game Pass Ultimate, it's part of EA Play, so you'll get access to it there. But otherwise, it's $20, which I think is more than fair. And there are microtransactions, but none of them affect the game. They're all cosmetic. And they're all, so you get like a battle pass in the game, and it's not like Fortnite. You don't need to buy the battle pass. You just, every season has one. And then as you rank up, you get in-game currency and you get unlocks. And then you can use that in-game currency to buy items, or you can just purchase additional in-game currency with real money. So there is an element to that, but again, it's all cosmetic. The in-game announcer, who is quite obnoxiously irritating, every time you open up the store, he's like, just remember, you might look good, but that doesn't mean you'll play good. None of these have effects on the game. And he like reminds you every single time you open the store. Okay. Like they're really trying to drive that idea home that this is not a pay-to-win type of situation at all.
Amazing.
But yeah, it's good. Like I said, I genuinely was surprised because when I started it, I was expecting something very similar to Rocket Arena, like this cartoony take on a single mechanic of like a shooter. But Rocket Arena, I think, just missed the mark all round. Like the rockets all traveled very slowly. The games felt very sluggish. Like this one, your movement feels very fast and zippy. The action gets really frantic very quickly. And it's just great. I think it's well worth you giving a chance to, and it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
So yeah, good on EA, and I think it's Phelan. I'm not entirely sure.
We went from real life carts to fake dodgeballs again.
It's real good. I'm kind of curious to see how, because League play is now open, so you've got ranked mode. And I've already watched some people play ranked games, and wow, just incredible.
What is the esports potential of this game? Pretty high, I'm guessing.
There is that, because like when you start playing with a team that you are constantly communicating with, it becomes a whole other ball game. Like you can really start employing some incredible strategies. Yeah, it's great. I think it's got a lot of potential. Like a lot of potential in the, like you think of Splatoon. It reminds me a lot of Splatoon, actually. Like this casual take on a familiar concept, but that has a lot of depth, that it's got legs. Like, and people play it either casually or you see them playing it competitively, and I think that's great.
And people still play Splatoon 2 today. So
yeah, because it's fucking great. Yeah. It's not like an Overwatch where at one point you could play it casually, but now the game feels so geared towards esports. Like I feel like you cannot dive back into Overwatch as a casual player just because
your team will shit on you.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So having a multiplayer game where the casual nature is part of the design, that appeals to me, and I like that. So yeah, great game.
Nice.
Knockout City. Check it out.
It's all the time I have.
Yeah. Before, I don't want to take up like all the time and then leave you with nothing. So just very quickly, I have been playing very casually, I must say, Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Wow, About time.
Yeah, I got the Series X, and I was like, okay, well, now I don't really have an excuse, because I was always like, I want to play it on my TV because I know it looks good on my TV. Firstly, wow, that game on Series X, you get 2 modes. You get a mode where you can render the game at 6K,
Wow.
And run it at 60 frames per second. Or you can render it at 4K and run it at 120. That game at 120 is real nice. Holy shit.
Yeah, I need to replay it just because when I played it at the time, like on launch.
Did you not have your new monitor?
I think I did, but it was a bit rough around the edges. Like there was definitely some optimization issues. Because like a game like that, you notice if there's any slowdown.
Yeah.
So like I love the game obviously, but there were parts of it where I was like, oh, like damn it, this is still rough. They need to just iron this out. So even just you playing it now, and you gave me a real nice birthday gift, a Ori and the Will of the Wisps like art book. Just paging through that, I'm like, I need to replay this game because it's a real good time.
I am having a great time. It's immediately, like, in very, very quickly, they make it apparent what they want to change and what they want to improve, and I think they chose the right things. The combat is night and day better.
It's like, much better in Will of the Wisps.
Better. Just having a like sort of light sword for melee attacks instead of mashing a button to have this little wisp like attack for you. I think it's much better. And then on top of it, like you have a very Hollow Knight-esque charm system that can augment your other attacks. Like I've got a hammer attack, and I've got another magic one that sets people on fire, so that's really cool. I wish there were, I guess this is part of the design though, but I wish there were ways to equip more abilities at once. I feel like I'm swapping between them quite frequently.
I can't remember how it works, but I know you've got like a certain number of slots, or
you got like 3 slots. But you can. It's nice that it's mapped onto a trigger. So I just hold the trigger, I assign a new one, and then I don't have to go into a menu, which is I think the right choice.
Yeah.
It's great though. Like I've only played about 2 or 3 hours. The music is phenomenal. The sense of exploration. I love Metroidvanias like this because at the beginning I'm always under a bit of, I wouldn't say stress, there's a bit of anxiety because I'm like, am I going the right way? Am I missing something? But then after a while you settle in, you're like, oh, okay, I can always just go back there. I can, and like things that you thought were like you weren't understanding a puzzle, you start realizing, oh, I just don't have the item that I actually need. You just don't have the right thing, yeah. So it's, Hollow Knight was the same thing. It takes about an hour to get into. Ori, same thing here. And I just feel like it kind of doesn't baby you. I guess Blind Forest needed to really introduce you to things. Here, it starts at a pace. Like, it starts giving you things very quickly. Like I said, I've only played 2 hours, but I've already got, like, a leash attack. I've got a dash. I've got bash, which is my favorite movement mechanic in any platformer ever. And you only get bash, like, a third of the way through Blind Forest. So to have it so early here, I feel like I'm playing as Ori at the end of the Blind Forest. I'm not like relearning all the things just for the sake of it. I do feel like I've got a lot of the skills that I had in Blind Forest, and now it's just a case of getting new ones.
So you've still got plenty to unlock as well, because I mean you what, 3 hours in, I think.
And this one you said is longer.
My playtime was 12 to 14 hours. It's not like significantly longer, but I mean that 12 to 14 hours is me just rolling credits, not even me, like 100%ing the map or anything. Because Blind Forest, I think, even the first time I played it, I went at 100% of the map, and that was still like 8 to 10 hours. So it wasn't like the longest experience. But yeah, Will of the Wisps is definitely a little bit bigger in that regard. And like you've said, the combat is just that. The biggest criticism of Blind Forest, I think, was the fact that the combat was a bit lacking, because
it was.
At the end of the day, Ori's a platformer, right? Like it's all about the exploration, getting abilities, and navigating hazards, whatever. But yeah, it definitely feels more Hollow Knight-esque in that, you're fighting 100%. Groups of enemies, and you've got ways to choose how to fight them.
And the boss fights are like kind of like tense and stuff.
There's actual boss fights, and not necessarily just escape sequences. Like there are actual bosses you'll fight. And yeah, it's good. I'm excited for you to keep playing.
It's definitely not as challenging as Hollow Knight. I'm not going in there expecting that. Yeah.
Did you ramp up the difficulty as a matter of interest?
I didn't.
No.
I'm enjoying normal. I'm dying here and there, but I'm, like you said, I'm there for the platforming most of it. So like I don't like I know you said it's got a good balance on hard and but I've got such limited playtime right now. I'm just like I'm going to keep it on normal, not have as much friction with the combat because I'm actually here for. A lot of people hated those escape sequences in the first one. I love them.
So like
I'm here for that sort of platforming, and that's not changed by ramping up the difficulty.
No,
so,
yeah, the difficulty just ramps up like damage numbers.
Yeah, exactly. So like, but I'm having a great time with it. It is, when it came out, Digital Foundry was like, this is one of the best looking games they've ever seen, and like they were like, it is difficult to go back to the original Ori because of how much of an improvement this is. And at the time, I was still playing the original, and I'm like, how the fuck? There's no way. And I understand now. Like this game is.
But if you were to try and verbalize it, like, what did they change?
Like it's just like detail, like so much detail. Every environment is just packed with so many little things. And the models, like the way they've improved their parallax, I feel, the animation and the way 3D objects work within their 2D space, it's really insane. The work they've done on, because at this point it's their version of Unity. They've done, I'm sure, so many changes to it. It's incredible. The way that game looks is just spellbinding. Really, really beautiful. And just the amount of color and the little details around there. It really is one of the best looking games I've ever played. It's up there.
It's a work of art. Like that's
it really is a work of art.
That's the game I show people. I'm like, hey, games are art. Here's why.
Yeah,
you can't even argue.
If,
wow.
If I wanted to show people impressive shit, I'd show them like The Last of Us 2 and Ori. Because those are on two very different ends of the spectrum and are beautiful for two different reasons. But like,
for sure.
And I bet a lot of people look at Ori and be like, wow, this is the thing that really impresses them because it's just so saturated in color and
really bursts with color.
It's incredible. And man, of course, Gareth Cocker with that soundtrack. Incredible.
Riding the fields.
I'm just really glad that the game didn't make me cry initially. So because Blind Forest really makes you cry.
Hits you,
yeah.
Right, like in the first 10 minutes, you're like, oh.
The first 10 minutes of Blind Forest is just like, well,
this game's so sad.
It's. Yeah.
I don't worry, they'll hit you in the feels. That's fine.
Oh no, I'm fully expecting it, 100% expecting it. But it's a great time. I like the little monkey things. I think they're called Mookles.
Is it Mokus? I think
Mokus,
they're almost like
they're real
like,
cute.
They're very cat-like, but very like feline. But
Also, I came across very early in the game this like, is he a big like frog or tortoise?
Wait, I think it's a big frog.
Yeah, big frog. Is he the narrator? Because he sounds exactly like the narrator.
I'm not telling you.
Okay, fine, don't tell me.
Oh,
he's very cool though. I like him. I don't know what weird like language they speak there, but it's very I love how bass heavy
it just
all of it is.
But the thing is, you can almost tell that they are speaking an actual language because it's like Ori.
Yeah, definitely. Every time I hear Ori, I'm just like, hey, that's me.
I understand.
I'm like that Leonardo DiCaprio.
I understand that. It's a good time though. I'm very, very keen to see how you explore. Well, keen to hear your thoughts on the rest of the game as you make your way through it, because it's a good
part
time,
of my Game Pass thing now. Now that I've got the Series X set up, I'm bouncing between games because man, that quick resume is. Wow, people not joking. That shit is fucking magic. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I definitely said it on Twitter. Like, we had load shedding, and the console was in rest mode. I wasn't currently playing it, and when I booted it up after the load shedding, my games were still there. So I didn't I mean, I understand how it works. Everyone's like, yes, it's saved to the SSD. What do you expect? Like, I fucking understand that.
Yeah, but
like,
it's not.
I didn't know it did that
mode,
automatically. Yeah. Like, I thought, I thought I had to put the game into like the background for it to like right there. I didn't realize that when I put it into rest mode, it would cache all of the games there, and then from a loss of power, be able to
just boot up
either
again,
way.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I booted up the console. Firstly, Series X does not shout at me for losing power. Like the PlayStation does.
PlayStation always beeps at me. I'm like, shut your mouth.
Yeah, it beeps at you.
I didn't choose to do this.
And then it takes forever to boot up. Like it has to rebuild your hard drive and all of that shit. Xbox doesn't do that. It just gets on with it. Like
amazing.
Just loads up. It loads up really quickly. And then as soon as I turned on my TV, I was greeted with like the pause screen of Ori. I was like, what? And I was like, this is crazy. And then I looked at my quick resume like folder, and all the games I'd been playing that were still cached, they were still there. So like I had Titanfall 2 was still open, so I swapped to that, and it took like 2 seconds, and I'm like, this is crazy magic. This is
the Xbox gives you a little wink, goes
Xbox pretty cool. I accidentally played through the whole of Titanfall 2 again because I was like, I booted up the game. I was like, I want to see this 120
accidentally
frames.
Play through a game like, oh, my hand slipped. Whoa, credits.
Oh, I was like, I want to see it, and then I played, and I was like, oh yeah, I like this level. And then I was like, oh yeah, I like this level. And next thing, I was at the end of the game, and I was like, oh
my
oops.
god,
what a game! Yeah, still great. So yeah, it's Game Pass, real good, real fucking. You know what I'm sad about? I know for a long time Resident Evil Revelations 2 was on there. It's not anymore.
Can I tell you? I have been so after Village. I've got this yearning to just play more Resident Evil. So you know what I did instead? I watched the 3 Resident Evil movies on Netflix, the animated ones.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the real ones. Okay, the animated ones.
No.
Yeah,
sis. No, the animated ones, which I've never seen before. So I was
pretty good.
So like, yeah, those are quite fun.
And there's that new one coming out soon.
Let me tell you that, that's actually what spurred it on. I was like, well, there's a series coming. I've never watched any of the movies, so why not? That last movie, is it Resident Evil Vendetta, where Chris is fighting that dude. They're having that gunfight on the roof. Like 10 out of 10, the most ridiculous thing I've seen, but it still makes sense. Like that. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's like it's point blank, him and this dude fighting each other with guns, but like dodging each other's bullets by rolling and diving out the way. But for like a good minute plus,
it's like Equilibrium's gun carter nonsense. It's real fucking stupid.
I was like, this makes no sense, but I'm here for it. Yeah, it's real good.
Isn't there a moment where they're running in a circle around each other, shooting at the ground?
At each other's feet? So like, just aim higher.
It's so dumb. It's so good. I love it.
But yeah, I have a real desire to pick up Resident Evil 4 on the Switch again, because I know that that's the next one being remade. And man, Resident Evil 4 is it's one I haven't played for a long time.
So can I tell you what I actually settled on? Because I had the same yearning. I'm like, I want to play another horror with like suspense and whatever. And the thing I've actually gone back to, because somehow I never finished it, is Dead Space 2. I finished Dead Space. I never
played Dead Space 2.
Dead Space 2, I always played up until a point, and I just remember never being able to finish it.
You cried, you're like, never again.
That game is fucking great. Like, so good still. It's on Game Pass as well, because it's on EA Pass. 100% recommend, because it is, damn, what a game. Like, really enjoy it.
Do not have it in me. Dead Space 1 is hands down still one of the most terrifying games I've ever played.
So Dead Space 2 is more action oriented, but it's still got the creeps. But like, I must say, I don't know if I've like gone over this point in my life now, because horror games never used to do it for me, but maybe Resident Evil 7 broke me or something, but now I crave them. Like,
it's weird, right?
I was sad that RE8 wasn't as scary as I wanted to be, and then I got to the dollhouse, and then it definitely was. But like Dead Space, I remember Dead Space scaring the shit out of me, but now it just doesn't. So
that dollhouse, no one's prepared for that dollhouse. Let me tell you.
Fuck that dollhouse, man.
But Revelations 2, 100% picked it up. So even if it's on Switch, like it's an old enough game that I'm sure it runs okay on the Switch. I mean, for Revelations 1 was a 3DS exclusive when it came out.
I do remember,
Which is just wild to think that there was a...
Should I play Revelations 1?
Look, Revelations 1 is real good as well. But it has the same issue for me that 7 did in terms of enemies. You're fighting like blobs, and I'm like, I'm just not crazy about that. Like, as much as I love Resident Evil 7, I miss that whole like zombie or like humanoid enemy.
You are still playing as Claire Redfield in both of them, right?
No, in the first one you play as Jill Valentine.
Oh.
Revelations 2 you play as Claire and Moira and Barry Burton. The way it's spaced out, you play as a bunch of people.
How would you rank the main cast of Resident Evil, like the protagonists? So if
who's the best?
If you had Chris, Leon, Claire, Jill, Barry.
I think I have the softest spot for Jill purely because Resident Evil 3 is the one I played the most as a kid. But I think I follow that closely with the main cast of like Chris, probably, because again, like he's been through every damn game.
Boulder
just about.
Man.
Yeah, a boulder punching man, and then Leon and Claire. No specific order, but yeah, those four.
I definitely think Jill is my favorite as well, just because like her campaign in RE1 is incredible.
I really like. You just recently replayed that. I'd say, look, if you have the opportunity, at least try it out. Like, there's no harm in playing Revelations 1 and 2. But if you are craving more Resident Evil, like those are both really good. Like it's a good combination of like over the shoulder. No, it's not. Neither of them are as scary as like Remake 2, let's say.
Are they more structured, sort of like an RE5 type of vibe?
Yeah, like they
like lots of ammo.
Do have a fair bit of action, but like there's definitely tension between both of them. So yeah, give them a try if you do see them. My goodness,
I really don't think we're gonna get something as good and tense as RE2 Remake again. But man, like I know they're doing 4 next, but if they remade 1.
If they, I do not think that's off the cards. Like I think they'll remake 4 because that's the one that's rumored / confirmed. Like I don't even know at this stage.
Man, they should remake.
And 1. RE1 was just skipped purely because it was remade in 2002. But I mean,
that mansion, man,
remake that in the same vein as Remake 2, where it's over the shoulder. I think I really do think that'll be a future project. Like if not,
expand on it a bit. Like you can playing 1 is so interesting because you can see the ideas for 2 in there. Just like not fully baked. Like there's a very small section where Lisa like follows you consistently, and it's like, oh, this is where they got the idea from Mr. X. You know?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like. And it's also just weird, man. Like, you fight big spiders in that game.
You really do.
You fight sentient plants. It's a fucking wild ride, and I'd be super keen to see that in the third person.
I really think they will at some stage.
I hope so, because RE2 is genuinely like one of my favorite games of last gen. Just a good time. Hands down, fantastic. Anyway. What have you been playing these past
because
2 weeks?
we've gone over speaking nonsense about Resident Evil, I will just briefly touch on a little Nintendo game called Miitopia, which I will talk about more in future.
Me too. No, go for it. I mean, we've skipped weeks, so go for all the Miitopia nonsense.
My God.
Give it to
me. I do want to put a little bit more time into it, but I've played the first 2 hours, I would say, of Miitopia. So for those of you who don't know, what was it called in 3DS? Was it called Miitopia?
Street Pass.
Or is it just Street Pass? Just straight up Street Pass.
It was like the adventure mode in Street Pass. But there was a Miitopia game on 3DS. This is not a new thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I did not know that. So is this just a spiritual successor?
I don't know if it's a sequel or a remake or something, but like Miitopia on the 3DS was exactly what you're playing now. It was the mini games from the console level Street Pass expanded in a way.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong. Whatever it was in the 3DS, your Street Pass was the thing of you basically, the way the 3DS worked, you put it on standby mode, you would go walk through town, and any other 3DS in standby mode you would share information between each other, basically, your different Miis. Then you'd get home, open it up, and it'd be like, hey, you bumped into 7 other Miis
XYZ,
on your walk, and they're gonna help push you along this quest. They'll like help you in a battle, and then that's it. You know,
and they're always on your console. Like it's like you bumped into this person, so they're part of your friends on this console.
Yeah, but then it was a thing of you, like, say I bumped into you, whatever, and I got your me on my console. Your dude appears in my world. We do a battle, and then that's that. I'd have to like go out again, bump into more Miis, and that's how I progress that story.
Yes.
So I think Miitopia basically takes that, but without the need, you know, to go and actually meet thousands of people out in public.
Real COVID-safe street pass.
Actual, COVID-safe gaming here from Nintendo. But Miitopia, it just follows that same structure of you are battling your way through, you know, a story, I guess. But
it's still like a spooky castle.
So the premise is that there's an evil overlord who has stolen the faces of everyone in the kingdom. Like literally,
his name's Doug Bowser.
Doug Bowser takes their faces, and you as a random person are just here to, you know, save the day. But I think the funnest part of Miitopia, not the funnest part, but one of the more creative / enjoyable aspects of it is the fact that you, if you want to explore this avenue, you can customize all the characters you encounter in the game. So
that's cool.
Every now and then when you progress the story, it'll be like, so this evil overlord will be like, oh no, so and so has stolen the, you know, everyone's faces. You can choose like, hey, give me, you know, make a me for me, or I will make a me to represent this character. So I could go into the me character creator and be like, well, I'm going to call this bad guy Alessandro, and I could make him look like you. And then for the rest of the game, you would be the antagonist of the game.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, which is really cool, because then you can do that for everyone. So
yeah,
every time I enter a new area, it says like, okay,
it's not just your party members essentially.
No, so yeah, like in that same vein, you can obviously create your party. So like I have me, I have a Lenska, I have like a few other people.
I have a Lenska.
But
the way you said that was so weird.
We have a Lenska. Should be chirp. But when you enter a new area, it just straight up says, okay, you're going to this area, there's a king, a princess, and a squire, for argument's sake. Do you want to customize them, or do you want to just have them play as they want? So the thing is, like, I think in that regard, it's quite cool that you can just dictate how, you know, you really can have fun just putting people, you know, into the story, you know, and it's I've laughed with that specifically because, like, Lenska, for example, I've made her in my game and she's in my party, and that ties into the game's social aspects, where in your party you can build social levels with different characters. So like obviously I'm building social levels with Lenska and like maximizing them. So I'm derailing myself here. I keep talking about stuff. I'm like, but there's also this and this and this. But I think what I'm trying to get at is that you have a level of customization with the characters you can play with, but that's entirely at your discretion, and I feel like you could miss that entirely if you don't want to. Specifically,
it definitely
because
looks like a lot more detailed than the normal me editor too.
Yeah, the me editor is great, but my biggest concern is that, like, I enter an area, I spend not hours, but I spend some time making these characters only to talk to them like 3 times and then move on. I'm like, well, do I get to talk to them again in future? Or if this is it, it's not really worth my effort outside of, you know, putting the time into customizing whoever's in my party. So in that regard, like, it depends on you, you know, hit or miss. Are you going to spend the time customizing your characters? That's up to you. I think if you put the time in, like, it's you know, you'll have fun with the game. But I suppose that leads to the actual game itself, where you, like I've said, the premise is, you know, faces have been stolen. You're on this grand adventure to reclaim them. And you do this by progressing through very light RPG, you know, exploration and battles. So the game's broken down into, you basically have an overworld map with different points. Think of like a Mario game where there's like a, you know, there's like a pathway you'll follow with circles that represent levels. Okay. So you have, you know, an overworld in that vein, and you go into a level, and then your party will walk along a path, just like automatically walk along a path. And then every now and then you'll get a fork in the road and you choose, do you want to go up or down? And then obviously on the road itself as well, there's always a chance of having a random encounter with enemies. So if I enter a random encounter with an enemy, you enter the battle mode and the only control you have is on your character, which I find very strange because there's a lot of potential here to, actually lean into the whole RPG side of things. But other than controlling my character, I can just sit back and watch battles unfurl because I can also just put on auto battle. So what that means is I've made me like a Matthew character, for example, and I have a party with 3 other characters. I can't control any of those other 3 at all. So I literally take my action, then I wait for them to take their action, and that's the extent of gameplay. And I thought maybe that was initially an introductory thing. Maybe this is just what they do in the first area, but it seems that the entire game is, no, you just do not get to control anyone other than yourself.
Yeah, that's a bit strange.
Which I find a bit weird because, like I've said, it's RPG light for sure, but it seems like you still could have given players that sort of control because it's not like it's beating you over the head with really complicated mechanics. So like even with like creating a character, you get to choose a class and a personality trait. So for my character, for example, I said I am going to be a thief. And my personality trait is that I am laid back. Was it laid back?
Pretty accurate. Not the thief part, but the laid back part.
Yeah, pretty laid back. And like that's it really. You get access to obviously class specific things. But like there's no depth other than that. And even the equipment itself, it's like the only thing you're customizing is your actual weapon and your outfit. And in terms of stats, it's like, okay, you've got a better weapon. It takes your attack up from 20 to 25. And your new clothing takes your defense up from 20 to 25, for example. Like that's the extent of the depth of the RPG side of the game. Like you're not, dealing with, what is my stamina and my dexterity and my strength and whatever. So it feels weird to like take further control away from the player and that you more or less just watching like an auto battle, like almost like an auto chess or auto battle game play out. But I don't know. That depends on you as a person. Like what sort of game are you looking for? Because it's weird. The game itself, I actually have enjoyed the first few hours. Like the social aspect of it is really fun. So after you've done your, every time you walk down a path. You'll eventually end up at an inn. You recover your health and everything. And that's where you get to, do more of the social stuff where throughout the game, you'll, for example, pick up food, from enemies that you've beaten, whatever. And now that you're at the end, you can choose who to feed what food. And each food does something different. So if I picked up like a pork chop, for argument's sake, I know that there's a chance it will increase my overall HP. But
you picked up a bifana.
Bifana. But not everyone in my party likes that food. So you have to sit and experiment with who enjoys what food, and you have to optimize what food you give them.
So like if you give someone food they don't enjoy, is it like a debuff?
No, so they'll still get a bit of experience to that particular stat, but it's not as big, not as significant, I guess. So it's weird because there are these fun aspects to the game where there's actually a bit of depth to them as well. But then, like, what is the point of trying to optimize my party if I'm just going to watch them auto battle? Like, maybe that's the point. Like, I completely get that, but it just feels like weird to not give players the option to control, the entire party. But yeah, look, this is only after I've played like I'd say 2 hours. I do want to play a little bit more just to see how the story progresses and see what sort of depth the game does go into, because obviously as I'm leveling up, I am getting, not just me, even though I can't control the other characters, it's interesting to see what abilities they get as well and see how they use them. Yes. So yeah, I'm going to keep playing a little bit more to see. I'll report back. I know that was a mouthful. I don't know if any of that made sense to you.
No, that made that made sense. It actually, like, I was curious because like I like Street Pass. Well, I really only got into Street Pass when I started going to conferences like E3 and Gamescom. I remember Zoe actually mentioning it and saying, "Yo, you definitely should try this." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool." And it was just really fun. Like every 2 hours when you had a break between meetings, open up 3DS. Because there was a limit on the 3DS. You could only street pass 10 people, and then it stopped. Like getting new people. So you'd have to update it throughout the day. And it was cool. Like I chat to Jeff quite a bit about this, and he prides himself on having Miyamoto as a not Miyamoto Satoru Iwata on his Street Pass. So like there's like a real connection there because you had to have been close to have that person, interaction. So at one point you were close to a person you really admire. You know what I mean? Which sounds weird and vain and whatever, but it's a cool social feature without having to talk to someone that in some way you interacted, and you can always open up your 3DS and they're there.
Yeah.
So that aspect of Street Pass I liked. I was never super into the RPG stuff that Miitopia is built off of, but this sounds pretty cool still. So
I need to explore that. So the time I played, I didn't have internet yet. There is an option to receive Miis, so you can obviously customize, like I've said, or have the game make them for you. But I do wonder if I choose that option, will it just randomly give me people off the internet, or
they should seriously just add Street Pass to Switch. I cannot believe it doesn't exist there.
Who's walking with the Switch in their pocket?
I mean, I'm traveling with my Switch.
I know.
So I'll have that shit in my backpack, and they should put it on there, in my view.
Yeah. That's Miitopia. It's an interesting time.
Should we move on? Wow, my mouse is in the sun and I just touched it.
Nice.
And it's so hot.
Must be nice to have sun. It's just raining in Cape Town. It's just
like, it's scorching hot. Look at this. Oh, look, Logitech mouse.
Nice.
I like this mouse. It's really nice, but fuck, it's burning my hand.
Which one do you have? You've got the
G920, I think it is. G502. Sorry.
So you have the wireless version of the wired mouse I used to have. I now have the G903, and this
you've
good
got
mouse.
The 903, yeah. Does yours also have the infinite scroll wheel thing?
Yes.
That's because I've got a I've got a Logitech mouse for work, the MX Master one.
Yeah.
And I've had this for years because I just think it's the most comfortable mouse I've ever used.
It's the bee's knees.
So that one also does it, but it's got something that the gaming ones don't, which I think is a bit of a missed opportunity. It's got like a tension lock in the scroll wheel. So it's like it clicks with each mouse one, but if I scroll really fast, it automatically engages the infinite scroll wheel functionality. I don't have to toggle it with a separate button.
That's quite cool.
Yeah. So I can toggle it with a separate button, but I don't have to.
Yeah.
If I scroll fast enough, it just turns into infinite scroll mode, and that is
a game changer. All those infinite pages you scroll,
because it's like halfway to a vertical mouse. It is seriously so nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Game news. Now that I have burnt
your little hand. Wait, do you say gaming news or game releases?
Sorry, game releases. I apologize.
Like you miss 1 week and this happens.
Everything just goes to hell. So we're in June essentially. We are looking at game releases from May 28th until June 4th.
Good Lord.
So let's see here.
This is so funny.
Actually May 29th. I apologize.
Oh boy, getting into June season here.
June season, yeah. So actually quite a few games, my God. Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. This was actually announced during the week. You've got a red border around your camera. Oh, there we go. Never mind. nothing to see.
No, don't mind me. I was just inverting my camera because I'm looking to my screen's this side, and on the feed I was looking away from the news. Now it looks like I'm looking at the news.
Production.
It's a good time.
So we got Virtua Fighter.
Physically reading it. Wow, damn! Look at that, June. Wow.
Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. This was announced this week, actually, and it's coming to PS Plus this week. So it's Virtua Fighter 5. Yeah, fighting games. I have no
this?
real...
Oh, am I looking at the wrong
Scroll down
place?
in June.
My God. Oh, I thought this was so weird. It's only coming to PS4.
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
So
Why not?
I guess there's no PS5 version, and I don't know, man. Sony owns Evo now, so it makes sense to really focus in on one platform. I guess. I don't know.
I don't
know. Necromunda Hired Gun. This is a shooter set in the Warhammer 20k universe, if I'm not mistaken. I think I've seen gameplay of this. It looks... Let me actually just double check that I'm not talking shit. But I think if it's what I think it is, then it looks pretty freaking great. Like, yeah, it's a fast-paced, violent, and thrilling indie first-person shooter set in the darkest reaches of Warhammer 40k's most infamous hive city.
I think I've watched a trailer for this. It rings a bell.
It looks real good. Like the action looks pretty great.
But hold on to your mount though, because the release of this week is World of Warcraft Burning Crusade Classic.
Holy damn! I mean, in this enduring pattern of World of Warcraft players wanting the vanilla version of their games, we're at the first expansion, because they've done vanilla World of Warcraft classic, or they called it classic.
It's weird, man. I can't wrap my head around this. Like, I mean,
the grind is just so much more. I just don't get why.
No, but not only that. I'm like, in 10 years, we'll have caught up with the current World of Warcraft timeline, and then there'll be more people clamoring for, I want vanilla WoW. So it's going to be vanilla WoW 2.0.
Yeah,
back again.
Classic edition.
Yeah,
I don't know. But yeah, that's out on June 1st. Also out on June 1st, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. So this is that Ghosts and Goblins remake that came out on Switch a while back.
I was going to say, this is out, right? It's just on different platforms now. Okay.
Yeah, so now it's coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Apparently very hard.
Goblins. Yeah, I mean, that tracks for Ghosts and Goblins. It's got a new art style that's, I think, divisive, depending on your love for the original game. So yeah. Then we've got a game called Stonefly. I just had to look it up on Google because I have no idea what this is. It's
coming to everything.
Harness the wind and soar through the wilderness of Stonefly. A chill and tranquil action-adventure game about self-discovery, legacy, and belonging. Glide your mech strategically among beautiful flora and dangerous fauna, confronting hungry bugs, adventures, and memorable characters. It's got a really good art style. It reminds me a lot of Into the Well.
Oh, yeah?
It's like scratchy draw style.
It's weird you say
Creature
that.
of the Well, yeah.
Also from
it's the same studio.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense.
That's actually amazing, though, that you recognize the style. Like, that's their signature style then.
Yeah, it definitely looks like that. So, okay, I didn't realize it was them. Creature in the Well is very good. So
I still want to play that game one day.
Okay, Stonefly. Cool. Okay,
interesting
looks good.
Name. Yeah.
It's out on June 1st on pretty much everything. So, yeah. Cool. So June 3rd, Hoko Life coming to Steam Early Access. And then a game I have to Google because it's just got a great title.
Magnificent Truffle Pigs. Cool name.
The Magnificent Truffle Pigs. Truffle Pigs game coming to PC on June 3rd. Oh wow, okay, this does not look like what I thought it was. The Magnificent Truffle Pigs is a first-person romantic metal detecting game. It combines laid-back detecting and exploration with a strong narrative, all set in a beautiful English countryside. It's a game about trying to find something. From the lead designer of Everyone's Gone to the Rapture.
A game about digging deep. Wow.
This is super not what I thought it would be, but
no.
Interesting. It looks like what's it? Firewatch, because you've got a walkie-talkie. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, that's out on June 3rd. Then we've got Open Country coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One, also on June 3rd. DC Superhero Girls Teen Power coming to Nintendo Switch June 4th. Wait, have we gone over the date now? No, we're going to June 4th.
No, I think we...
And then the last game for the week, Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts, June 4th, PC, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X.
Amazing.
And S. Yeah. Cool.
Right. Amazing.
Should we move on to the plethora of gaming news we have?
So much of gaming news.
I mean, this is mostly just news from this week anyway. It's just, like we said, E3. Feels like E3 started, man.
All gameplay stuff. What do you want to start with?
Yeah, well, I'll go through the thing that I thought was the most interesting this week was Horizon Forbidden West gameplay.
Bam.
Yeah, Sony just out of nowhere was like, hey, state of play coming, 14 minutes of gameplay. And true's Bob, we got 14 minutes uninterrupted gameplay.
Actual gameplay, yeah.
It is.
Just get that
let me tell you
going.
that, okay, this looks like...
It's not working.
This looks like Horizon, for sure. Like, absolutely looks like the same sort of format, but with improvements and additions in, I think, all the right places. So the thing that stood out to me was combat. Aloy looks a lot more dynamic in combat, like switching between melee and ranged combat. You also have a lot of melee combos now. It's not just very one-note melee stuff.
The melee stuff stood out to me immediately because it does look like actual, there's some depth there. I'm hoping, at least.
Yeah.
It looks like there's a little bit more.
It looks a lot better than the original. Yeah. I mean, Aloy even has like an ult, so that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, what more is there to say than it's just more Horizon Zero Dawn with cool looking creatures, new environments.
Yeah, I mean, check these guys. They look like velociraptors, and they've got like chainsaws for mouths. It's, the robot design in this game is fantastic.
Yeah, can I just say that like the game is obviously very light, like not gory, in any in that regard. But these monsters would fuck you up.
Oh, they would do monstrous damage to you. Like absolute
monstrous damage. My God.
Like absolutely insane. I mean, hilarious. I don't think we need to state the obvious, but this game looks incredible.
It looks insane. Yeah.
I mean, the first one looked good because of all its color and also just its monster designs. But this, from a technical standpoint, the lighting, especially when you're looking at Aloy's hair, just looks phenomenal. And just the color, just so much good color.
Yeah.
I think we're coming up to a part here where she, Aloy jumps, if you're watching on the video version, she jumps into the water, and that is just like insane.
Yeah, when that happened, I was watching next to Lenska, and I was like, oh my God, you can swim. And I was like, oh my.
Yeah.
look at all that coral life and everything. Yo.
Another big change here on the video, you can see there's a lot more freeform climbing.
Yeah.
The first one, especially considering it launched alongside Breath of the Wild, felt so restrictive with its climbing, like because you could only climb in certain spots. It was really crappy.
Yeah.
So this looks more in line with like an Uncharted or a Assassin's Creed, where it's a lot more liberal, which I like a lot. And then you've got other tools like a grappling hook, of course. You've even got a little like hologram shield parachute, which is very Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. Can I tell you? I love
funnily enough, a lot of people. Funny enough, a lot of people are like, oh, they took it from Fortnite. It's like, oh, this is the industry we're in now. Yeah, exactly. It's just,
I mean,
but yeah, it looks good. Do you watch the whole gameplay video? What did you think of that fight at the end?
I really liked it. My thing is, it's just like, I hear you, there's all the optimizations, but there's still, that good combat that I'm really excited for, stripping away these mammoths of creatures and then just toppling them. And like we've seen, I mean, what weapons did we really see? There's still like the catapult, there's a bow and arrow, but I know there's going to be a ton more of like not only familiar tools, but maybe new ones as well.
Different
like
type of arrow tips, I'm sure.
But yeah, I really liked it. So I don't know, what did you think of the combat?
I think I've said before, but I loved Zero Dawn's combat, but I did feel like it was very easy to get into a rhythm where you didn't have to change the
for sure. Yeah,
bow types and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that there's more of a balance on that, like more of an incentive to swap between certain weapons.
Yeah.
Like we see in the video, I love that you can still knock off weapons from
and use them,
enemies and use them against them. I mean, this fight against this big elephant is just incredible. It's the dynamic parts of it, like where she shoots off the like human I don't know, seating on top of it, and it just crumbles so realistically.
It's amazing, yeah.
And the fact that she can do stuff like this in combat, like she grappled to a point, grabbed on it, climbed, jumped, used a parachute. Like you could never do that in the original. No. So it just looks so much more fluid and dynamic in all regards, which I'm super happy for. Love that there are lots of glowy bits on enemies, so I know where to shoot still.
I'm super excited for this game.
They didn't reveal a release date. Interesting.
No. So I don't know if it will come this year. Maybe we'll learn later this year. Maybe they're still trying to figure that out.
I mean, Sony's Jim Ryan was pretty adamant that it was still coming this year. But I mean, at the end of the day, COVID is COVID. It's impacted a lot of games, and I could see it would be bad, I think, if it slipped into next year, because then what does Sony have as a holiday game?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, whatever. If it slips, it slips.
Yeah.
I will love to see this on a PS4. I don't know how this works.
I think it's definitely worth mentioning that this is a cross-gen game.
Yeah.
I don't know, like from what we've seen now, just in terms of the actual performance, the crumbling buildings, even just swimming and stuff, I'm like, how will that run on a PS4?
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, this is what they're showing us is PS5 footage, and from the footage itself, it doesn't look like it's running at 60 frames per second, which is, I mean, Spider-Man Miles Morales was the same if you had it on its like fidelity mode or whatever. But like, yeah, good luck to it on PS4. That's all. I mean, this looks like, Miles Morales look good for sure.
Yeah.
But this looks like a step ahead of that, and that's meant to run on the same console.
Good luck.
Then again, it is the Decima engine, which is, it's Gorilla's one, the one that was used for Death Stranding, and Death Stranding looked fucking
It's real
incredible.
Good. That's true. Look, I think they'll make it work. I just don't know where they cut. Like, I don't know. The world just looks very lush, very dynamic.
Looks very dense, lots of little details. So if you lose that denseness and the detail, But we'll see. We'll see. At this point, it will be running on a console that is 8 years old. That's
which is just insane.
Yeah.
Which game do we cover next?
You go. You choose. There's two to choose
from.
So
I only watched the Horizon gameplay, but I suppose the one game I'm excited. Well, look, I'm excited for both, but Dying Light 2, I'm glad that it's still alive, because there were concerns of like, where is this game? Like, what is happening with Dying Light 2? But now I think this week they released a new trailer and they gave us an actual release date, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's I think December 7th, if I'm not mistaken, or 6th. It's taken the Cyberpunk 2077
7th of December, yeah.
Yeah. So I watched the whole presentation. It was good. I think the game visually looks really good. I don't know. Some people seem to not think so. I don't understand that. I think it looks pretty great.
I think even Dying Light 1 was quite a
Dying Light 1 looks
technical masterpiece. Can I just say I love Dying Light 1. Like I really enjoyed that game. And I played it. I didn't play it at launch. I played it when the first expansion came out. I can't remember what it's called now, but that's when I first played the game, and I inhaled both, like the main game and the expansion.
I played it at launch, and it was one of those rare games where I was not expecting it to be anywhere near as good as it ended up being. Like, I'd played Dead Island before, and Dead Island really didn't do it for me. So I was like, oh, this is Dead Island, but with parkour. But man, it was fucking great. Like, just getting around the city and the combat, and especially those nighttime portions, like where you were running back for safety.
Nighttime portions were terrifying.
Exactly. The tension that they created, just really, really good. So You know, this presentation focused a lot on their story. Like they are really harping on this idea of enemy human factions and your decisions having a tangible impact on the world.
Yeah.
And like I get that, but it's still, to me, still seems very binary. Like you make one decision, you can see the sort of mechanisms behind working. It doesn't, to me, doesn't feel like it's as interesting as they are trying to make it sound. If that sounds harsh, but like we'll see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other than that, the gameplay looks fairly similar to the first one. Like you are still parkouring around, you are still making really ridiculous melee weapons from crafting, but it just seems like more polished all around. Like the melee combat looks a bit more refined. The parkouring looks a lot more fluid. Like depending on where you're looking, the animations kind of follow that in a much more realistic way. I think it just looks great. And it seems like they're going to be a lot more enemies, different looking zombie enemies, and the same sort of risk and reward if you want to stay out at night, which is great. So
yeah. I mean, the risk reward in the original game was you got double XP at night, which is,
and if you raided certain safe houses at night, you got better rewards. Yeah.
I mean, Dying Light 1 came out, it was a long time ago, right? It was like...
It was like 2014, somewhere around there.
7 years ago now. And like, I don't know, a lot can change in 7 years in a game. So I'm hoping that they... Like, I love the formula that they have, you know, the whole parkour system and exploration. But I'm curious to see how that evolves. You know, what do they do with this game? And look... If they can pull off the whole faction thing of like, oh, your decisions have, you know, massive ramifications, like cool. But at the end of the day, I just want an open world zombie parkour game. Like I'm not gonna cry over a bad story in a game like this if the gameplay is fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like Dying Light 1 didn't have a really fascinating story. I
can't remember the story. I was just thinking I need to go Google it to get like a look at the wiki page just to get a recap of what actually happened. Even though I don't think it ties into this at all. But
yeah, this one takes place 20 years afterwards. So I don't even think I can't recall, but I don't think the protagonist is even the same. So
no, but there might be a nod. Some clan leader will be like, "Wow, it's the original." That is the dude from the first game. Wow.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. So yeah, that's coming out.
It looks good, yeah.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I'm glad that it's finally got a release date because like it disappeared somewhat after it's showing at E3 2019. Yeah. But yeah, looks good. I'm keen for that. The last big game reveal for the week, we say that as if it's like a disappointment, but yesterday Ubisoft finally showed off
Far Cry 6.
Far Cry 6 gameplay finally. Funnily enough, when they announced Far Cry 6, when was it? Last year? It was meant to have been out by now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was originally slated to launch in like February 2021 and then got delayed. They said, oh, we're going to reveal it at Hopper 6. And then everyone came at Hopper 6 in the evening, and then there was a 30-minute countdown.
Which is just
fucking ridiculous.
Oh my God, this has the countdown. Hang on, let me just skip ahead here.
So the game's coming out now, I think October 7th, so it's still a while away. It's set in like a fictional... It reminds me a lot of like Cuba. It looks almost like a South American... country, but it's basically got Caribbean influences. It's a fictional country which has kind of been broken off from the rest of the world. So you've got this weird aesthetic where you've got cars from like the 1950s and 60s that are like broken down, dilapidated,
basically
with modern
Cuba.
technology. Yeah. And you are basically, I think you're playing as two different protagonists. I'm not sure if you can swap between the two. But there's a woman, a revolutionary named Dani Rojas, which is, I think, very funny because Dani Rojas is a very popular character from the football series Ted Lasso. And like, surely someone must have known that.
My goodness.
So I find that quite funny. And then I don't know if it's like a brother or just a companion, another guy that it seems like you can play as. I don't know his name. He didn't really feature as much. And then obviously you've got Giancarlo Esposito, who's
the baddie.
Gus Fring from Breaking Bad as the baddie. So yeah, Ubisoft did its thing where they spoke a lot about the narrative and how like serious and like how important their story is going to be. But then they pivot from that to like, here, check this shit out. You've got a gun that can shoot vinyl CDs into people, and it's like, guys, just choose one or the other. Like, really embrace its nonsense, or like, don't. Because the gameplay itself looks ridiculous. Like,
it looks.
You're making guns from like scraps, and they just look absurd.
I mean, I think it was your tweet that you said exactly that yesterday. Of the, it's the super serious story of the whole revolution's happening, but then how serious can you take it when the tone of the game in terms of gameplay just seems less serious?
Yeah, it just seems so wacky. I don't know, ridiculous. Like your character runs around with like a backpack that shoots rockets. Like you're telling me to take a story seriously when I can do shit like that?
Yeah,
like. And you can choose between two companions, an alligator or a sausage dog that has like wheels for its back legs. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, like, come on.
Listen,
I don't know.
Little chorizo, if he dies in the story, I will delete
burn
from
this
my
game
hard drive.
to the ground.
Yeah, like
look,
that dog is so cute. The animations on there,
the alligator,
so cute. Yeah,
look, it's difficult for me to comment because Far Cry, like my issue with Far Cry is interesting in that I played the original Far Cry, which for those of you who don't know was a
developed by Crytek,
set on a tropical island where it was the formula for Crysis as we know it now, where it's almost like semi-open world, big open island, but with a surprise twist aliens or creatures. By the second half of the game.
What, Far Cry Crysis, holy shit.
Yeah, Far Cry 2 I played. That is, set in where in Africa? Was that a specific African setting?
I think it was a fictional one as well. It seemed also, like more Sahara, like, I don't know, Northern Africa. I loved Far Cry 2. Absolutely loved it.
So yeah, I played a bunch of it as well. But then Far Cry 3, 4, and 5, I just did not play. I played a bit of Far Cry 3 and I've just missed this entire franchise.
Far Cry 3 is incredible because Far Cry 3 perfected the formula that they haven't really strayed from at all.
Yeah.
Like 4 and 5 are really just Far Cry 3, not
with
ripples,
different
but
skins,
they are. Yeah, and Far Cry 3 really established the tone for this series. I played the hell out of Far Cry 3. I loved it. I think in that year, it was probably like one of my favorite games of the year. Yeah. And then 4 4 was wacky and cool, and I liked the setting. It was fun. 5, I really didn't like. I played a bunch of it, and I thought it was very boring and stale. And, this gameplay doesn't look very different from that. But again, they are embracing more wacky elements. So, like, I'm into that.
Yeah, that's my thing as well. It's like, I'm very keen to try it, but I can tell you now that in so many years, like there's a reason I haven't played the Far Cry's because I've dabbled with them and be like I'm just not feeling it. So I don't know.
I definitely think they fall into that thing of the Ubisoft formula now, which is good. Like you play Assassin's Creed games and whatever they find, but I feel like they're getting to this point where they're just stuffing them for
the sake of content.
Sake. They're like, every game we put out is going to be 80 hours. Like, no, I don't want that. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. It's difficult because obviously, that's what a lot of players want. Games are expensive. Like you're putting money down. A lot of people tie the value of a game to how long they can play it. And like, I get that,
I get that, especially when games are at 1,500 rand. Like,
exactly.
I totally understand that. Yeah.
But it's weird because the selling points of a game, if you tell me a game is 80 hours long, I'm immediately put off. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Or like if it's 80 hours to, see the main narrative, the average play time's 80 hours, outside of the side stuff, I'm like, like I don't know if I really want to
but that's why I haven't, like, we were talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the expansion that you played recently, and you're like, that's a 12-hour thing. I'm like, fuck, awesome. I'll play that.
Yeah, that is awesome. So on that thought train, like if you tell me Far Cry 6 is, the base game's going to take you 50 hours, I'm like, that's a bit long. But if you tell me like you can mainline the game in 15 to 20 hours and do some side stuff and have a 30-hour experience, I'm like, I'm more likely to play it then.
I mean, if I think of the games that I've played for like 80 to 100 hours, there's a lot more in there than just content. Like Zelda, Breath of the Wild, I played for over 100 hours, but that was because the sense of exploration.
It was so good, yeah.
Little Chorizo, sorry.
Look at that dog.
Look at him. So fucking cute. Love it. The sense of exploration was so strong that everything felt new and interesting. And the same thing for Persona 5. And even Persona 5 at a 100-hour game, like there were points where I was like, this is dragging on for too long. But that's a game where the story evolves so much over 100 hours that it, I can take it. But if you're looking at an Assassin's Creed or a Far Cry, and you're like, this game's 80 hours. It's like, okay, what am I going to do that is different from hour 20 as opposed to hour 60? And it's not. It's the same thing. It's just more.
So, and I know I'll definitely come across as a hypocrite because I'm like, I don't want to put 80 hours into a game. Yet I have put 100 plus hours into a game like Monster Hunter. But the difference is like you can roll credits on that game and be done with it. Like you're not playing Monster Hunter for 100 hours just to, complete the game. That's me playing it because I'm just enjoying the shit out of it. So I completely understand if a game is just fun to play. Like I'll give it my time. But like you've pointed out, don't just put content for the sake of putting content. Like, I don't know. It's Ubisoft, I think, are notorious for that as well. Just of like, it's the Ubisoft formula. There's just a map stuffed with objectives, and some people like that, and that's cool. But I can't say that gets me excited. Like, there's a reason Valhalla it wasn't a bitter taste, but by the end of it, I was so fatigued. I was like, damn, that was 60 hours long, which granted, I still mainlined a lot of it. But it was really just me pushing through because I'm like, well, I've played 40 hours. I might as well just, see it out to the end. Which is why that expansion is like such a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, it's only 10 hours. And
this is what's kept me away from Assassin's Creed Odyssey because, like, I loved Origins, but Origins, and I did pretty much everything in Origins was like 40 hours, 50 hours. And then, like, I look at Odyssey and people are like, oh, yeah, it's like 80 as well. I'm just like, I can't imagine playing, like, Origins felt long for me. I can't imagine playing double that. You know what I mean?
I know. And even in that, like, Odyssey is probably the one Assassin's Creed I think I'd enjoy the most because I love that setting. I just think, that time period leading into Greek mythology. Wait, it is Greece, right?
Yeah. It is Greece, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I'd love to explore that, but when you tell me it's 80 hours and stuff's gated off by like levels, I'm like,
it's too much.
No, thank you.
Too much.
So yeah, but that's a trio of gameplay that we got this week, which, like you said, it got your juices going for E3.
It really feels like
just kick that little Give it another week or two.
Speaking of E3, this week we got a fresh batch of Nintendo Switch Pro rumors, courtesy of, I think it was the Washington Post. It was Bloomberg. It was then corroborated by Eurogamer. Basically, the details of the report haven't changed. Still seems to be a system with a 7-inch Samsung OLED display, so a bigger display in the same size body as the original Switch. A dock that will support an output at 4K. Doesn't necessarily mean the games will run at 4K, just at least it's doing upscaling on the console side and not depending on your TV, which is always good. Potentially NVIDIA DLSS support, which is a big plus if that's true. And what was interesting was that Eurogamer actually suggested that when this launches, this will phase out the original Switch. It will not be a tier sort of like a PS4 Pro that will live alongside.
It just replaces it.
Yeah, it just replaces it, even though it might potentially and likely will be more expensive than the current model. So I guess Nintendo sees their Switch Lite as their budget offering. Yeah.
Well, what's
even though
quite
that
cool,
can't be used with a dock. So I'm slightly confused by that.
But what's quite cool with, so I mean, like, I agree with you, it's a strange move, but what's quite cool about that is if you're on the fence about a Switch, this new one will likely knock down the price of the OG as stock gets cleared out. And the Switch is a great platform. Like we can't stop talking about it because we both love the console and there's plenty to play on it.
I wonder if you start getting into a scenario maybe a year or two down the line where it's like, this game is only for the new Switch.
I don't know.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, the thing is, Nintendo are notorious for doing exactly that. Like, first
they did
of all,
it with the 3DS.
Can they just not call it the new Switch? Can they just call it something
So there was
else?
an Amazon product listing page which seemed to indicate that it's called New Nintendo Switch Pro. So they got new and Pro in there.
Just call it the Switch Pro. We'll know what it is. It's like it's the PS4 Pro.
It's just like the 3DS. It was you got the Nintendo 3DS or new Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah, which is just dumb. Just call it just add Pro or the Switch S or the Switch X or something. Just add one little identifier. Look, I'm sure I have to believe that E3 will be a stage to show something.
So this is interesting, is that both reports from Bloomberg and Eurogamer actually say it will be revealed before E3.
Yes.
E3 can be used to show off games. So that would mean if Nintendo's going to reveal it, it has to be in the next week or two.
Yeah.
As soon as this report came out, people were like, oh shit, this is happening this week. It didn't happen, but knowing Nintendo, they'll just be like, on Tuesday, they'll be like, hey, there's a direct tomorrow. And you're like, okay.
So
cool.
we friends with Frank from Nintendo, who I know listens to the show. Frank, if you're listening,
told us all our secrets.
Blink twice if this is true. Just tell us. I'm expecting some eye emojis in WhatsApp.
I'm almost. It makes the most sense that they reveal the console and then at E3, whatever direct they have at E3, they show off
Breath of the Wild 2.
They say both reports say that this console's out as early as September, so that's crazy.
I am so down for that. I think this up in a heartbeat.
I think if this console comes out this year, Breath of the Wild 2 comes out this year.
Yeah,
that
100%.
is one. And then you run into the same scenario of potentially Breath of the Wild and Horizon launching alongside each other again, which I'm sure Gorilla's just like, fuck's sake, god damn it.
And you know what will be fun is that they'll launch in the same period, and then Horizon, as good as it is, will be like, I can't believe that it pales to Breath of the Wild 2, which introduced this new open world mechanic that we can't go back from.
Horizon will be like, damn, we got the parachute finally, in Breath of the Wild will be like, hold my parachute.
Yeah, but they'll be like, we got the parachute from Fortnite. Okay, get your facts straight here. Okay, let's fly through the rest of this news.
Uncharted coming to PC. Apparently, Sony released a slideshow to investors just to kind of like give them an idea of what's happening. They hilariously took a Google image of God of War Ragnarok to show that a new God of War was coming, even though that is not the official title. So that's a real fucking laugh.
Yeah.
But part of the slideshow, they indicated that Horizon and Days Gone have done well on PC and that Uncharted 4 will be the next release on PC. So that's cool. I'd play that again.
100%. Yeah. I wonder, I think this report as well was like, where's the original trilogy? Like, why wouldn't they do the collection?
Yeah, I put that original trilogy on there.
That's a whole
it's real weird to me that there's a report that it's coming to PC, but it hasn't even received a patch to run at a high frame rate on PS5. The same thing with Horizon Zero Dawn, actually. It just doesn't have one. Out of the 3 games coming to PC, Days Gone is the one that got the patch from PS5. Like, come on.
I'm curious to revisit Days Gone purely because I just want to see what it looks like. No, look, I wouldn't play it again, like to roll credits. I just want to see what an open world zombie game looks like on a motorbike with Deacon. No, you're right. It's and then last piece of news, you can run us through this because I have no idea what this is.
So
Unreal Engine 5 gets a stunning
Unreal Engine
demo.
5 got a new demo this week. I mean, if you recall, last year they revealed Unreal Engine 5 with that stunning gameplay walkthrough that they said at the time was only possible on the PS5's SSD. The demo they have here runs on Xbox Series X.
Look at that rock.
Take that as you will. There is a lot happening in this engine. I think the most impressive to me is Lumen, which is their global illumination system, which actually doesn't use ray tracing, which blows my mind. So essentially one light source that can light objects in real time, which will save developers and especially artists a lot of time on pre-baking lighting
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they would honestly like light a scene and then leave it overnight to pre-bake and render. And then if something in the scene had to change, then all of that had to be redone. So this potentially changes all of that. There's a lot of great tools here that developers are seriously impressed over that I've seen already.
Well,
so yeah,
pardon the expression, but this looks unreal. Let me tell you,
it looks phenomenal.
Geez, like,
really
this is insane. Look at that.
Yeah.
Audio listeners, we're looking at rocks that look lifelike.
They've got their whole like photogrammetry like system in there, so like you can get really realistic models that you can just like the video just showed there. Place there. It handles a lot of polygons a lot better. I mean, I've seen a lot of developers freaking out over how incredible this is, but also the same thing, like people should not expect games to just be like automatically optimized because of this. Like there's still lots that needs to go into it. And the scene they're showing here is a lot of rocks in a desert. There's not a lot of action happening. So, of course it's going to look better than what an actual game that has to take into account AI and movement and all the things that stress the CPU will have to take into account.
Okay, I'm going to sell you on a game quickly, Journey, but it's lifelike.
Fuck, I'll take it. I'll take it. Just a lifelike desert. I'll take it.
Exactly, yeah. There's no action. It's just a beautiful environment and you're just walking through it.
So the engine's in early access now. You can download it and mess around. They released the demo that they showed off. You can mess around with it in the engine. It's shipped with it. Also, if you enter the Konami code in the demo, the robot in the demo dabs. So that's fun.
Of course it does. This is crazy though, legitimately.
It's really cool. I kind of want to download it and mess around with it because it looks really, really something. Very cool. I mean, there are a lot of games already in development with Unreal Engine 5. Hellblade 2 is one of them. They showed off a very impressive looking cloud system that is unique to their work on the engine. So there's a lot of people are going to be able to do incredible things with this engine, and I'm excited. I'm sure the first games with it will only start coming out next year though. So yeah.
Am I? Okay.
I don't know. Maybe Hellblade comes out this year. I don't think so though.
I don't think so either. Is that?
I don't think so.
News. I think that's it.
That's news. So that means we're hopping on to questions. If you want to send us questions, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also message us on any of our social platforms at Checkpoint Chat on Twitter, on Instagram, anywhere. I'm verified on Twitter, by the way. That happened.
What?
I applied for it and I got verified.
So I got to find your blue tick. Are you the Alessandro Barbosa? Get out of here.
Now you'll never be mistaken.
Oh my God, you got a blue tick. Shit. I always knew the real one, but I just couldn't be too sure.
Maybe we can get Checkpoint Chat verified. Let's see.
Oh my God. I'm applying for a blue tick as well. I'm the Matthew
The Matthew Figure.
Okay, so we have, I know there was a question on Instagram from Keegan, aka Best Bash, who coincidentally is also in Cape Town, which applies to his question. He says, best food places in Cape Town. Give me 3 weeks of heaven, please. So you can tell me, because I think you know Cape Town. Well, I'm seeing the eyebrows going. You know Cape Town a lot better than I do, weirdly enough, because I think when you travel, you come for the good food and good ice cream and all the good stuff. What should we be eating in our time here?
So first things first, ice cream, Moro Gelato. Go there. Best ice cream. I love creamery. I dig it, but Moro has, I don't know, they have a vegan chocolate ice cream that I swear to God, if you were not told it was vegan, you would never know. It's just like so creamy and sweet and it's great. But my favorite is their pistachio ice cream, which is
yum. I've had that. It is real good.
It's so good. And every branch, there's quite a few branches around Cape Town now, and all of them are great. All the people are friendly, and they always have interesting flavors, which I like experimenting with. So yeah, that's a a real one. If you want one of the best burgers in Cape Town, I suggest Regent. I think it's called Regent Burger Bar, or it used to be Craft Burger Bar, but now it's Regent Burger Bar in Sea Point. Very, very good.
Nice.
And it's like a very small restaurant. You get craft beers there, but the burgers are phenomenal. Massimo in Hout Bay has the best pizza I've ever had in my life. So that's phenomenal. That's really good. And then Fish and Chips, Hout Bay.
Hout Bay is the place.
Yeah, Hout Bay Harbour. There's lines for days there, and it's just, classic fried fish and chips, and it's fucking awesome. Love it. There's a lot of other places. There's a sushi place in town, which is incredible as well, but I can't remember the name now.
I must say we spoiled for choice as well, where there's just a ton of.
Are you staying where, like Rondebosch or Claremont?
In Claremont, yeah. I think the easiest recommendation if you want just a good pub meal is Barristers.
Yes, very good. Yeah,
they've got some good specials as well. So they have a pub menu, which I think it's like 12 to 6 or 12 to 8 every day. Don't quote me on that, but there's a variety of meals for like 85 Rand. It used to be cheaper, but we've seen now, because we were there earlier this week, that it has gone up. But I mean, you can choose anything from like a mac and cheese to a steak, egg and chips to a whole bunch of different things.
Amazing.
And we're going to explore a fair bit because there's a whole lot of new places as well. I can tell you that there's a place in Claremont called Haas, coffee shop. Haas, I think it's Haaz, and their coffee is really good and really cheap, like as far as coffee goes. Like a cappuccino is 25 Rand, and I'm like,
that's not bad at all. Yeah.
How? How is it that low? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I know Keegan's favorite, or one of his favorite coffee places in Cape Town is a place called Truth. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's also got a very cool aesthetic. It's like
that's like the steampunk one, right?
Yeah. It's very cool.
Yeah, I've been there. Cool. And then we have one last question on Twitter from a John Michael, who says, y'all think Dying Light 2 is going to be a proper sequel, or is it just going to be a Dying Light 1 HD? Oh, is it just going to be Dying Light 1 HD? I
definitely think it will feel like a sequel. Yeah. I mean, especially with the human enemy faction stuff, definitely that wasn't in the original, and I think, I mean, they are very much like pushing hard on that sort of feature, but whether it's actually good or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But in terms of the combat and stuff, it just looks like a much more refined Dying Light 1. Like, I wouldn't say it's just HD. Like, everything just looks smoother and just better, because I guess those sorts of animation systems and, changes to the gameplay have really come a long way over the past, 7 years? So, yeah, I think it will feel, I hope it will feel a lot better to play. Like, if it feels the same as Dying Light 1, they'll be a touch disappointing, I think.
Is the game coming out on PS4 and Xbox One?
Yeah, which is confusing. Because I was also watching that, I was like, how is this going to run on a new console? Like, I don't know. It's super dense. Yeah.
There has to come a point, I mean, we know it's going to happen, but when they stop doing current gen stuff, because ultimately that does hold back some, choices. It's the thing of, we'd like to do this, but it's not going to work on current gen.
Yeah.
I guess we won't put that in. I think Dying Light 2 will, be a proper sequel. But like I said earlier, if the faction stuff doesn't hold up, I don't know if I'll really care so much, because I'm playing Dying Light more for the parkour and the, to get my heart racing at night.
The zombie slaying.
for that double XP, kick.
Yeah.
If it gives me that, I'm not going to complain. I want more of that. I mean, look, by all means, I want a, different, maybe some different twists or additions. But if it gives me just that open world sandbox parkour game, I'm there. So
I still think even the original Dying Light's still one of the best zombie games out there. And I mean, if you think about the zombie games between now and then, there hasn't really been anything that's, I think, come close to being as good.
Am I alone in thinking that it's weirdly underrated? I feel that not nearly enough people talk about Dying Light 1.
For sure. I I feel like I still see people now and then today being like, damn, Dying Light 1's great. Like never expected it. So
yeah.
It was a real surprise for me at launch. Like I've said. But yeah, super good. Super good.
Yeah. And that's it. That is all.
That is it indeed. If you want to send us questions just like John Michael and Keegan did, you can send us emails at checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also message us on all them social platforms at Checkpoint Chat, everywhere. TikTok,
all the
Twitter,
places.
Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. And that's it for episode 145, not 154, 145 of Checkpoint Chat.
Your money back guaranteed.
We're back properly now. I think, you're in Cape Town for a while now, so we won't have any interruptions in our regular programming. But if there are any changes, we will definitely
let you guys know.
Yeah. But yeah, you're streaming from this week again. Twitch.tv/HerriUnis. What are you streaming on Tuesday?
On my Twitch.
What are you streaming on Tuesday? Do you know yet?
I have no idea. I have not thought that far ahead. I'll be playing something though. So
Miitopia.
Yeah. Miitopia.
Great streaming game, I think.
I mean, I think it could be fun if you get people, you design characters
Yeah, that's actually make a poll in your chat. Like, what should I make this character look like?
Yeah. We'll see. You never know.
We'll see.
But yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for listening. As always, we appreciate your support. Give us a like on any platform or just review us. It really helps us going forward. Just take 2 minutes. It would be great. If you're on YouTube, you like what you saw. If you're not subscribed, hit subscribe. Give it a like or dislike, or just leave a general comment. We'd love to hear from you. That's it. We will see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.